Welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe. My name is Ed Piskor.
And I'm Tom Scholey, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
We're going Golden Age today, man. Looking at Captain Marvel number 100 in a couple different versions by CC Beck, Otto Binder, and staff. But first, I want to invite you guys to like, follow, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell so that we can notify you when new vids are available. That'll mitigate the kayfabe effect, which is what happens when we show these books off early in the morning, early afternoon, midday. Those comics are not able to be found so easily or affordably on the internet. So the earlier you see the videos, the better chance you have of getting your copies if it's something that you're interested in. And if you watch these videos to the very end, you're really helping out the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel by pushing our videos out to a wider audience. We increase our subscriber base, makes it possible for us to continue bringing you regular videos. So Tom and I were just sitting together, man, trying to figure out like what are we going to do for the next round of vids. And Captain Marvel came up, man. I know you're an Otto Binder fan.
Yeah.
And you like you're a magical thinker. You like whimsical comics. Captain Marvel feels about as whimsical as it could get. Mm-hmm. And I think it's high time that we start putting these Smithsonian books to a little bit more use. We did that with Action Comics 1's Superman story and Detective Comics 27's Batman story. But this book is in a lot of people's hands. Lots of copies out there. Affordable copies out there, man. You're going to be able to find this thing. And it'll be our opportunity to, like, do a Little Lulu story that a lot of people could get their hands on.
You can read along at home.
Yeah, or do a Walt Kelly story that everybody can get their hands on reasonably easily. And the cool thing about this Captain Marvel story that we're going to look at from issue number 100 is that there's a couple forms that you could get to read this thing if you don't have your original. Obviously, the Smithsonian book, but this is probably the Shazam Treasury Edition. It's probably one of the cheaper Treasury editions that you could get your hands on, and there's plenty of them out there. I always see this at comic shops, but it reprints this 4-part Captain Marvel battles the plot against the universe story, along with a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah, some cool stuff in there.
So, let's hop right in, dude. Otto Binder.
Yeah, and this is like, you know, at the height of his powers. This was Otto Binder. This is like the best job he ever had, and he got really comfortable. This is like maybe like the halfway point or so, you know, and he was just really comfortable with this universe, built like a whole universe, a whole tone, like a whole worldview that's just so much fun, and that we haven't really seen anything like it since.
All the stuff that you see in here, you just can't help but think of the Alan Moore reinterpretation, especially when, you know, the Marvel Man is like in the storybook universe with this guy. You know, this is Dr. Gargunza or whatever his name is.
Without his hair, yeah.
And it's all plot devices. That's the thing with these old comics. That's just sort of what makes them fun. Everything exists just to get us to the next page. And I almost called him Dr. Gargunza.
Yeah, Dr. Savannah.
Yeah. His idea is, let's get deep. Like, I might not be able to fuck up Captain Marvel, but maybe I'll screw up that guy Shazam, which, by the way, I had no idea that wizard guy was called Shazam.
Yeah.
And I wonder how that works in DC canon when they seem to call him Shazam.
Yeah, I mean, he would be, like, now in DC, Shazam is the hero.
Right.
But the wizard is, like, his era's Shazam.
I see. We got that talking tiger.
Yeah, Mr. Talkie Tawny. And at this point, like, this is like the 100th issue. They're trying to do something special, something that references, like, the history. But all of these elements are well worn. You're not going to pick up a Captain Marvel comic where you're not going to have some kind of recap of the origin. So here we are in the cave, again, for the millionth time, where he got his powers, you know, talking to Shazam, and you know, Savannah kind of overhears it and kind of finds out, you know, he wants to find out more of the secrets. So he kidnaps Mr. Talkie Tawny, the talking tiger.
And he wants to get his hand on Shazamium.
Yeah, great inventiveness. Like, coming up with the element Shazamium. Later on, he invents Savanium.
Yes.
Named after himself. And this thing of, like, the cat, you know, Mr. Tawny in a ball of yarn, basically getting rolled around. It's a really, like, just fun a visual and, like, a fun kind of, like, this comic moves.
Yes.
And even within the panels, things move.
It feels
cartoon language.
Yeah, it feels like, the best of like those adventure comic strips where one day you establish a bracelet, the next day you got to have your bad guy trying to figure out how he's going to get said bracelet.
And in these like night scenes, you think of C.C. Beck as, sort of like cartoony, simplified fun, but there is like some interesting, illustrative things going on in the way the leaves are like dappled on the forms.
Yeah, good possibility that work is all done by the other fella. In Shop Talk, the Will Eisner book with a bunch of interviews, he interviews C.C. Beck. C.C. Beck basically, certainly around this era, is drawing faces. He's inking in faces.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the division of labor. He's making them all look the same. So this could be dudes from the team, and you'll see like little pieces of Mac Rayboy, Captain Marvel Jr.
Well, especially this one being like an issue-length story.
Yeah.
And it was like rare for somebody to do an entire issue all by themselves.
This is such an incredible little motif, man. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things like drawing that over and over again would just drive me insane. And I don't think that, no, there's definitely lines here that are not there. I was going to say maybe just like did some sort of stat work, but like what would that be back in those $2 reproductions?
Yeah. I mean, everything in here, like this is stuff that has happened a million times, but you do this repetition for the creator, for the readers, it kind of lulls you into like almost a hypnotic state, and then when you can really start playing with things in interesting ways, which they do in this story.
Yeah, well, doing all this like recap stuff.
Yeah, it's recap,
all
but
this,
keeping it current.
sure, but it creates a situation where, like, you only need one or something. Like as a kid grabbing them off the racks or something, it's like, oh yeah, I got a Captain Marvel. It was okay. Like I'll try something else next month or next time or something. Getting our little intro piece.
Yeah, I mean, if this is the only Captain Marvel story you read, it's a good one.
It is, yeah. This image of the guy with the Earth, all that stuff. I feel like there's a Hal Foster
that they're referencing.
Set of Sundays.
Yeah.
That they're referencing from Prince Valiant.
It feels
there.
classic. It feels like something that would maybe be in a movie and like Father Time and Baby New Year and stuff.
Unmistakable Mac Rayboy artwork right here.
Yeah, little cards you can cut out and
Just,
almost like you can make a flip book. Have them
so
transform.
so sublime. And I swear to God, like, isn't the name of one of the Marvel characters Freddie Freeman or something? Like, it's super close. Cartoonist Kayfabe is brought to you by the comic books that we make. In stores now. Tom Scioli has Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. Complete biography about the man behind the Marvel Universe in one handy bound volume, 300 pages worth of material there. Fantastic Four Grand Design is still on stands. That is Tom's version of the complete Fantastic Four story in one handy volume. On the racks right now is Red Room Trigger Warnings, 4 issues of that on your local comic shop racks at this very moment. But the Trigger Warnings trade paperback is coming out September 2022, and Jimmy has Hulk Grand Design, Monster and Madness are in your comic shops today. The single issues, 40 pages apiece, telling the complete story of the Incredible Hulk. And around Christmas time comes the Treasury edition of Hulk Grand Design with fluorescent ink on that cover. So that thing is going to stand out a mile away. Now that we're done paying the bills, please support our comics. Let's get back to the video. So Billy Batson, like, they just witnessed the origin of Captain Marvel.
Yeah, they went back in time, witnessed the origin of Captain Marvel. Kind of like Back to the Future Part 2 style.
Yeah, so Dr. Sivana, like, he failed his mission to start, but that doesn't stop him.
Yeah, he can find another angle on all this. And further playing out this gag, now Talkie Tawny's starting to roll away. He's figured out a way to like roll himself to safety and then cuts himself loose. And then, and remember, as nice and gentle as he is, he's still a tiger, so he can attack with the tiger's strength.
Has a special, like, rope lasso gun.
I like the silhouettes here, too.
Yeah, really sharp. And we're getting into the little Gargunza plane. But Savannah, he's a smarty pants, man. So once he gets around the public, and they're all just, like, watching some street performer or something,
And this was mainstream comics. This was a this outsold Superman.
They said it could be 2 to 3 million copies a month of this would be doled out.
When you would talk to people from that generation about comics, a lot of times this would come up, and I've seen like interviews with Larry King, with Stan Lee, and Larry King saying, "So you did Captain Marvel, right?" You like Larry King remembers this from when he was a kid, and he thought that Marvel was involved in that,
right?
And the name Marvel has a cachet, like in the '60s had a cachet, like it was something you'd want to have largely because of this stuff,
right?
The gag that Billy Batson and Savannah are roughly the same size and shape, just like a slightly different body language. He's got a little more of like a hunch to his walk, but that they can like disguise themselves as each other, and pulls off his little head.
It's really frightening.
Yeah. Well, you could see how like Alan Moore and others would see like, the sinister uses you could put to this stuff.
So now we have to have some urgency to the story. Now Shazam, the little wizard, he's going to dissolve in like 24 hours if he doesn't get his bracelet back.
Shazamian bracelet goes to the Rock of Eternity. Alan Moore in Tom Strong did a Tom Strong story that's basically this, but with the Tom Strong characters.
Sitting on his high horse is Dr. Sylvania.
Yeah, basically a ruler of the universe, from his throne.
And how many of these panels did they do? Yeah. It's almost like you could just cut them out.
Well, that's Mac Raboy was infamous for sort of cutting and pasting. Like you see the exact Captain Marvel Jr. like flying through the air, the exact drawing, side view.
That's so good.
But yeah, I mean, it just moves. It's so much fun, and it's like this is kind of like an era before comics got kind of like sectioned off, where it's like, okay, superhero comics are a little more serious. Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck are in a completely different area. This is where it's like those borders are a little more liquid.
This has it all.
Yeah.
This has it all. And the fact that like the main superhero has polka dot eyes.
Right, yeah.
Like there's absolutely something to that. See understanding comics or whatever.
Now these like it's very rare that like I laugh out loud reading a comic, but like these sequences with like the multiple Savannahs, there's just it's just very funny to me.
It's really good stuff, and it's an absurdist comic of the highest order. He's just going to create more of himself so that he could do more damage.
Yeah, he's such a shit. He just and this great like anatomical cutaway.
We see what the important bits of the human body are.
The gizzard,
the toe, the gizzard.
And yes, it is kind of odd and perverse, like all these like dismembered robot bodies and sticking brains in.
And the Shazam wizard is telling Captain Marvel like, just do whatever he says, along. And the payoff for that is silly as fuck in this thing, because here he is creating all these dudes. It's almost like the henchmen in the Batman movie with all the Cesar Romero and all those guys.
They all have their little names written on their shirts.
Liquid constituted bad guys.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, freeze-dried bad guys. and they're all just like, poo. Like, I love all this stuff they're yelling at. Red cheese.
So the Rock of Eternity is the center of the universe, so his idea is bring all these dudes to the center and just let them...
Yeah, go through time and destroy everything, yeah. Yeah, and again, this is how I always thought of, like, the Baxter Building as being this like hub of like different realities, and you see the different places they go off to eternity, to the future, all these like alternate universes and stuff.
So Captain Marvel decides, I've been making all these Savannahs for Dr. Savannah. I'm just gonna make one to destroy.
Yeah, you don't see this in superhero comics where it's like he just has like emotion that and he just wants to do something petulant as a superhero. Like he's like, I just want one of these things to beat up, and he goes at it. He just like demolishes this thing.
Destroys it, and he's like, it solves nothing, but I feel so much better. Yeah. That's such a youthful thing. It's like little kid, like punch your little brother or something, and it's like it feels good.
It's an interesting flourish. And I don't know that anybody but Otto Binder could have come up with that.
So he just goes back rebuilds some more savannas, but he gets the whiff of inspiration. If I'm creating these little raisin prune douchebags, maybe I could create a fresh Captain Marvel. Look at that chassis.
Yeah, that who knew he was that muscular under there. And this is like when Fawcett, the makers of Shazam, get sued out of business. DC immediately scoops up all the parts that they destroyed, and Otto Binder goes over there and brings a lot of his whimsy to Superman. So you start getting Superman duplicate robots and stuff
fun.
like that.
So here he is, man. I like to think that it's like, George McMurray or whoever the
Fred
first
McMurray,
Fred McMurray and this guy.
Jackson Bostwick
And then
is the secondary robot.
And then that modern day dude who was in like that movie that came out a year or two ago. It really almost looks like Fred McMurray.
Yeah, you know who else it looks like? They say
Adam
that
Carolla?
No, it's supposed to be Otto Binder. That after a while, C.C. Beck, just from working with Otto Binder, turned it into like a drawing of him. And he's got
fun.
kind of the full cheeks and the smile and the curly hair.
So not only does he create a new Captain Marvel, but he's creating a new element.
Yeah.
Marvelium.
Yeah, so you had Shazamium, Savanium, Marvelium, and it is like, you think about all the variations of kryptonite and stuff that come out under Otto Binder's watch.
It makes me think about just like in the real world. You remember, like you have the periodic table of elements, and then there are those like offshoot ones that have some.
They're like the man-made ones.
Yeah,
like the sort of nuclear ones that aren't plutonium or whatever.
Yeah.
And Alan Moore played with this kind of stuff a ton in Supreme. There was Supremium in Supreme. And this is an interesting choice. And he's the only one in the universe who can shape Supremium, which is that's a Silver Age Superman kind of thing,
Yeah. So he's just going to create a little box to put his Savania in.
Yeah, I like getting all these savannas together. It's such a great situation.
Or Shazam is just dematerialized. Like every time we see him at this point in the game, he's just becoming more rictus and fucked up and harmed. And Savania is just he's tougher. I love cutting through the drawing with the white.
Captain Marvel, Shazam, whatever you want to call him, he enjoys his job. Like he enjoys his life. He's got a big fucking smile on his face.
Just giving a little fair
a little
one.
bop, yeah.
A little fair one. What Mike Tyson said about punching dudes in the chin, like you don't want to have a flesh hit. You want to hit a home run. And what he means is you just want to glance that chin, because if you just glance it with the punch with like one knuckle, you're going to send that jaw to the side of his face.
Yeah, put some English on it.
There's our Shazam right before he gets his bracelet back. So we only had seconds of time.
Just in the nick of time, serial kind of stuff.
Gets it back, and all is right with the world.
And then they have a little ad, for, keep this thing up. We're 100 issues in. Here's to 100 more. I think they got to 150.
Okay.
Something like that. So there are, maybe three or 4 years left to go.
And I wonder, it's like could there have been like 500 comics with Marvel Family, Captain Marvel Jr. and anything like 1,000 comics?
I mean, it feels like a truly a golden age. It's really a little bit infuriating, that it came to an end and had to. But I feel like it could have gone. I mean, it obviously migrated into Superman.
Yeah.
It like a way watered down version of this.
It was clearly a formula that worked because kind of like the Ninja Turtles, right? Like they go to France and they work there. They go to Britain, they work there. Like this was reprinted in the UK. It goes away for those legal reasons you mentioned earlier, and they just don't miss a beat.
Yeah.
And Marvel Man comes out, the next month.
Yeah, they take off his cape, change his hair color. And
go on business as usual with the new team. So there's something to this that is evergreen.
Yeah, when Jeff Smith did like a Shazam comic. It seemed like a perfect fit, and it feels like even though there's other influences and stuff like that, it feels like Bone is kind of like out of this same tradition. Almost,
I can see that.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that, no doubt, man. For sure. Really fun to look through a classic Golden Age Captain Marvel comic in total. You know, we did a video on that great sort of graphic novel, that 25-parter reprint that Chris Pitzer had. So we'll pull that video up. That'll be in the link in the description.
The only time I've read that was at Pitzer's house. I just sat down and read the whole thing.
Yeah, he took photos of us like going through his library and shit. But such a pleasure to get something like this on the channel. And I implore the Kayfabe community, go out, find this book, because I easily can imagine us doing Little Lulu episodes and Walt Kelly episodes using this material, because you need like, I got, thousands of pages of Little Lulu.
Yeah.
I have 5 years worth of Pogo strips. Where do you begin, and how do you share it? Maybe you share it with an anthology that a lot of people have on tap at the very moment.
I mean, it's where I started with, like, this is the first Shazam story I sat down and read. Little Lulu. This is my introduction to Little Lulu,
Yeah, great sample of EC Comics. Great book to have. We did a video on it at large in a macro sort of fashion. Expect some micro vids to come from this, no doubt. Tom, tell the people what you have out there.
Check out Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. Fantastic 4-grand design. Go to my Patreon, patreon.com, search Tom Scholey. Check out American Barbarian, and go to my YouTube channel, Total Recall Show.
Red Room Trigger Warnings trade paperback is going to be in stores September 2022. Murder on the Dark Web, Fun and Profit is the name of the game in Red Room Comics. You got to pre-order these comics at your local comic shop. Let them know that you want to have a copy of it. If the comic is banned in your country or your comic shop, you got to go to my link tree in the description below this video. You can order and pre-order current and future Red Room comics through that link. You could read the comics today, all of Red Room The Antisocial Network, all of Red Room Trigger Warnings today on my Patreon. $3 gets you the archive there, and I'm serializing the next round of Red Room comics there before they hit paper. Several pages out right now, new strips every Tuesday. We have a spread shop where we have Cartoonist Kayfabe swag up talking. Fanny packs, t-shirts, baseball caps, and if you want to have a particularly nerdy child, get them a Cartoonist Kayfabe onesie. Supports the channel, makes it possible for us to keep going, and we put all our money back into the production of the channel. Without further ado, Tom, Jim is not here. We got to get the hell out of here and get back to work. Give him the marching orders so we can be on our way.
Read more comics.